If you're a first-time buyer who is going to be viewing a property this weekend, I've got something I need to warn you about. Who am I? My name is Manda. I'm the mortgage coach. I combine mortgage advice with financial coaching. And I bought in my 20s and I've been a mortgage advisor since 2020. So I have worked with hundreds of first-time buyers and I've dealt with estate agents, other mortgage advisors, and also conveyancers, property solicitors. So this is a one-stop shop when it comes to viewing. I'm going to talk everything through with you. That makes more sense, right? Right. So at the end of the day, and this is why I created the checklist, because your mind will go blank. It happens to the best of us. You go in, you're all excited about viewing a property and everything goes blank. Now, let's backtrack a little bit. It's all about preparation. So before you go in to view a property, how much research have you done? Now, obviously there's the questions that you should be asking the estate agent, but there's also the research you can do yourself. You can go onto Zoopla, and there's information that you can find that Zoopla provides, like house prices. Depending on the tabs you go through will depend on what kind of information Zoopla will give you. Rightmove is also very excellent about giving you information that really helps when it comes to property. And then there's On the Market. I suggest that you look at all three. You plug it into a spreadsheet, all the information you found on those properties. But even way before all of that, you decide what you really, really want. So basically, when you are looking at your criteria, you'd go to a mortgage advisor first in order to find out what you can afford. Then, based on that, you start doing your own personal research on what you can afford, what that actually equals. And you may surprise yourself. I once had a client, and once I showed them what they could afford, it was actually a 3-bed house, but they were singles. They only wanted a 1-bed flat. So what we ended up doing was reduce their budget. It was simple. We did a decision in principle for what a budget for a 1-bed flat would be, rather than their maximum affordability. Now, once you've actually got your decision in principle, you've looked online for the properties that you are interested in viewing because you've done your own research. That's when you obviously check, are they registered to an estate agent? Then you can introduce yourself to that estate agent and actually register for that estate agent. And it's different ways of doing it. Some want you to provide a DIP before they'll allow you to view properties. Some you only need a DIP, a decision in principle, to prove what you can afford from a lender when you're actually going to put in an offer. So you need to ask the estate agent. That's one of the questions you'll ask them, what the process actually is. Specific to the properties, I've done a whole checklist of the questions that you should ask an estate agent around that property, and then you can back it up by doing your own, with the own research that you've done. So for example, if you say to the estate agent, how long has the property been on the market? You can actually look that up yourself. And one trick is, if it's been on the market a while, sometimes they take it off the market and they put it back on the market, but you can actually see the history of when it was last on the market. And if it wasn't sold, then obviously you know. Other things to be aware of is, timelines, time scales, things like that. Are they in a chain? Are they not in a chain? You can use that to your advantage, and also you can use it to understand if there are going to be delays. It really is good to understand what being in a chain means and all the different jargon that estate agents will use, which is why on the First Time Buyer Companion it is there. The next thing that you want to do is the actual viewing. Now, when you're viewing a property, I would suggest you start outside and you actually, note down everything that is external. So that would be the garden fence, that kind of thing. The thing with the garden fence is, depending on the house, if it's got two, or left and the right, for example, you really need to find out which one is yours. Not that it's going to make a difference for the purchase, but it's good to know for the future. The next thing is, you go room by room. Now, what I would suggest is, you take a deep breath, you look at the checklist, and you actually, for each, there's a checklist for each room. And if it's a bedroom, there's certain things you need to check. If it's a kitchen, you need to check fixtures and fittings, appliances, water pressure, depending on where the boiler is. There's a lot of things to do. The boiler has to have what's called a flue, which actually goes out of the wall. So you also need to check that, and then that's in good condition. So you can view all of these, and then also if you don't feel comfortable or you want a second opinion, you can actually ask if you can come back with a builder or a plumber or electrician or whoever that you feel is most comfortable, or you can just check it all out yourself. As I said, you go round the property looking at, whichever checklist is relevant for that room, and figure that out. And then while you're there are general things to look at. Are the windows in, is there any condensation? Can you see any water, or when you touch it, does it feel damp? Has it been freshly painted in any of the rooms? Can you see sort of a discoloration by the skirting boards, because that could mean rising damp? Are there any cracks in the ceilings? That could also mean something. You can turn on and off the switches to check if it's got spotlights. Do all the spotlights work? There's a lot to check, and there's a lot to look at. You may just want to do an initial viewing, and if you like the property, it feels good, feels the vibe, ask for a second viewing to do all these additional checks. It's purely up to you. I just don't believe in wasting my time, so I do everything. And at the end of the day, they may try and hurry you up or make you feel bad, but at the end of the day, it's all about mindset. You are going to be buying this property if you like it. And if you do, you're going to be paying them hundreds in some situations. If it's in London, hundreds of thousands of pounds. So if you want an extra 5 minutes or a second viewing, they should allow it, So that's something to bear in mind. Finding out why the seller is selling. Estate agents may not want to answer that question, let's be honest, but you can ask the seller. I mean, at the end of the day, you are buying that property. So as I said, there's a lot of things to be sure of or to be aware of when you are viewing your property for the first time. And once you've done the checklist for every single room, that all can get plugged into the viewer's log. And then as you view every single property, each category at the top of the log does refer to something. So then that way you're comparing apples with apples rather than apples with pears. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. And remember, the first time buyer companion includes all of the tools that I've been discussing for the whole of this video. Please like, share, and by all means put any comments, questions, and I will pin a link to the first time buyer companion. Thanks for your time. Good evening and good night.